What is going on, everyone? Is back again with another video. In today's video, we're going to be going over some of the roster updates the last couple of days because they have been pretty crazy in my opinion. Let's go over the first one right here, which a lot of people I don't think were expecting at all. I personally really did not expect him to go here, but I knew the Rangers were going to make a splash. I kind of said this all offseason. As you see on your screen, the Rangers have signed Jacob DeGrom to a 5-year, $185 million deal, which is absolutely crazy to even think about. So he will be a Ranger for the next 5 years, leaving the Mets, which, is kind of crazy to even think about because he's been on the Mets his whole career. And, he's been suffering through a lot of injuries and things like that. But he has really been, like, one of the best pitchers in MLB and in the league. And, sometimes even in the playoffs when they do make it. Now, what does this mean for the Rangers? I mean, the Rangers are going to be looking stacked. I mean, they have Leiter and Rocker in their system. Bringing DeGrom on is another massive piece. Those are three really good pitchers, and they already have like one really good pitcher who was their ace last year that no one talked about. He had under like a 2 ERA or right around there, who was pitching really well towards the end of the season. So he's definitely gonna get more recognition. And they also have one other guy on the team or in the AAA or farm system that can pitch really good. I've heard from just by looking at the stats and stuff. So they do have a really good pitching core. I think this is the last big pitching splash they're gonna make in the draft and all that good stuff. So I do expect to see them get a couple of hitters because they did, have Corey Seager, Semien as a second and shortstop. So I do expect them to try to get some outfielders, some, first, third baseman, some catchers, all that good stuff. But yeah, I mean, the Rangers are definitely going to make the playoffs very soon. I can see it coming, and I'm very excited for what's next. Let's go over the breakdown of DeGrom's contract. Obviously signed for 5 years. So this is kind of how it breaks down. He's making $40 million for 2 of those years, which is absolutely crazy to even think about. He's obviously going to be signed through 2023 to 2027 with an option in 2028. So it is going to be a club option for $20 million. He can come back. Like they said, they can increase it to 30 or 37 million based on his pitchings, like how many innings he pitches and Cy Young finishes, because we know DeGrom, he gets hurt a lot. Probably one of the most pitchers to get hurt and still be really good, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, so he can get hurt a lot, so that's probably why that's there. But it'd been crazy to see him come back for another year as well. And I'm just excited to watch more Rangers baseball. I don't know about you guys, but this is my dark horse team every year coming on into this. I love them as soon as I went to their stadium. And yeah, I just like the team. I like who's on it, and I like what they're doing. So excited to watch more Rangers baseball this season. Now, another one which I kind of expected after the DeGrom deal happened. This was like, 2 days later. As I'm recording this video, the Mets have obviously trying to get Justin Verlander from the Astros. 2 years, $86 million deal. So it's kind of crazy, like literally like 2 days later. I'm surprised he didn't re-sign with the Astros though. I feel like they just didn't want to give him that $40 million, which he wanted, which obviously over 2 years is like $43 million. So he's making $43 million a year, which is definitely the most highest paid pitcher, I'm pretty sure, in the MLB ever. So pretty impressive contract from the Mets, but this does make sense. I mean, he was the Cy Young last year. He is old. He's up there like 41. So I expect him to do really well here, and it's smart to only go for 2 years. I did not want a long deal for him because I didn't think he was going to be worthy. I think 2 years is a good deal for the Mets, and they're going to have another ace as well in their system. So this is going to work well for both parties, I think, and interesting to see Verlander in New York. Didn't think I'd ever see that. And yeah, this is kind of weird now that they've been reunited, Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander in New York. So really interesting to see one of the 2 best pitchers back on the same team together. So maybe there's something coming up in New York. I mean, obviously they didn't really have the best pitching staff before this deal, so making it a little bit better will definitely be a good need for the Mets. I'm excited to see what else the Mets do this offseason. Now, this is a deal I definitely expected. We did hear rumors about this earlier in the offseason about the Phillies signing Trea Turner. So I'm not really too surprised, to be honest. I was kind of just waiting until it happened. But the deal he got, 11 years, $300 million, is really interesting with a full no-trade clause. I don't know why they gave him 11 years. I know why that's, I understand because it's the AAV. They want to keep it down for the Phillies because they already have a lot of big contracts. But 11 years I don't think makes sense with a full no-trade. I don't think he's going to be here for 11 years, to be honest. I feel like he's going to get injured. He is old. Trea Turner is pretty old. And so right now, Trea Turner is 29 years old. So definitely the last contract of his career, which would make him 40 by the end of this season. I think the last season, him being 40 years old playing shortstop, I mean, we'll see. He's still fast at his age. And, I just don't agree with the 11 years. I mean, the deal's good for him. Don't get me wrong. 300 mil, that's kind of what I expect to keep that AAV down. But it's kind of crazy, 11 years for this guy. I mean, I can't wait to see him in the Phillies. Don't get me wrong. I'm not complaining. It's just I'm surprised because the Phillies do have a lot of big contracts. So gonna be interesting to see how he does on the Phillies as well. Interesting the Dodgers didn't re-sign him. I think it was because they're over the luxury tax right now. So very interesting to see him on the Phillies. And once again, another reunion right here. Bryce Harper and Trey Turner obviously played together their almost whole career. Now they're back on the Phillies instead of the Nats this time. So very interesting to see it. Also, by the way, Schwarber, Harper, Turner, and Kevin Long, the old hitting coach on the Nats, are all on the Phillies now. So kind of interesting to see that 2018, 2017, World Series team without Harper kind of reunite on the Phillies. It's kind of interesting to even think about, but yeah, this is another massive deal and massive contract that's going to be happening. And in other news, Rick Porcello is actually retired today, so very interesting. I think he was a really good pitcher for multiple years. Obviously won the Cy Young in 2016. Obviously was a part of that World Series Red Sox team. So interesting to see him retire. To be honest, so because he was a really good pitcher for multiple years. Obviously 12-year career, pretty impressive from him. So sad to see him retire, but old age gets to you, and you start not pitching the best. I think that's something we're seeing with a couple pitchers in the league. But I don't know, for some guys it's just different. Verlander, I don't know what he's taken to be that good at 40 years old and pitching, crazy. But interesting to see that Rick Porcello is now retired. So kind of sad to see him go. And the last news we have to talk about today is the Yankees re-signed Brian Cashman for 4 more years. So he's going to be signed to 2026 as their senior vice president and general manager. Personally, I think Brian Cashman does a good job getting the team to the playoffs. It's not his job in the playoff. Like, once the team's built, he doesn't really have say of what's going on. So I think he's doing a good job building a competitive roster every year to get them to the playoffs. But, it's never really felt like a World Series team, which I think is his main problem. But the Yankees are always competitive every year, so in my eyes, I think it's a good idea. I know a lot of people don't really like Brian Cashman, but I think the real fans, that want to get into the postseason every year, I think they'll like this. But that's a whole nother conversation with Yankee fans and all that good stuff. I mean, the goal every year is to obviously win, but when you can get into the playoffs every year and you might have a shot, I think that's a win too. But at least for most fans across the league. If we're gonna wrap the video up there, crazy kind of deals I think we're having across the league. It's gonna be weird to see these guys on some teams, to be honest. I thought this was funny from talking baseball in the Reds uniform. And Jonathan Indy actually responds, player on the Reds right now. He said, "Imagine Lowell." So who knows what's going on with Aaron Judge right now. I think everyone assumes he's going to re-sign back with the Yankees, but no one really knows what's going on with him. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with Judge going on these next couple months. But if you guys did enjoy this little update video, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. Check out all my socials down below in the description, my Discord, my Twitter, and my TikTok. That all being said, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out, everyone.